This is Ahmed, a part of Kenya's heritage. He's the great elephant of Marsabit who received state protection from President Jomo Kenyatta because of his majestic tusks. The anti-poaching war in Kenya has been ongoing for decades now, and only in the past couple of years have we seen some significant gains. The challenge, however, remains real, and the challenge is stark. We could be the generation that see the extinction of rhinos and elephants. Well, we're asking the big question. Can we save our giants?
The illegal wildlife trade is estimated to be worth between 10 to 20 billion US dollars annually and, by volume, is the second largest illegal trade in the world after narcotics and followed by arms and ammunition. Statistics show that Gabon, Kenya, Uganda and Botswana face high threats of poaching occasioned by human-wildlife conflict. Gabon has an estimated elephant population of 50,000. Kenya's elephant population is estimated to be at 34,000. Uganda, 8,000 elephants, and Botswana is estimated to have 200,000 elephants. However, in Kenya, poaching is down 80% for elephants and 85% for rhinos, with an estimated 88 elephants killed in Kenya in 2015. This compared to 10,000 killed over the same period in neighboring Tanzania. At current rates, the elephant species faces extinction within our lifetimes. Frontline conservationists are being injured or killed in their hundreds because proceeds from this illegal trade are being used to support criminal activity, armed conflict and terrorism. The time to act is now.
Thank you so much for joining us, and Mary, it's a pleasure to host you this evening. Kenya is going into a critical week with respect to the anti-poaching efforts globally. We're holding the Giants Club Summit here in Kenya. And of course, on Saturday, we are burning ivory. Now, Make It Kenya is a part sponsor of the Giants Club Summit. Why is that?
First of all, thank you, Julie, for having us on the show. The Ministry of Tourism was actually gracious to be able to fund this particular sponsorship of the Giants Club Summit through Brand Kenya Board. And the reason why we are sponsoring this event is specifically because tourism is dependent on wildlife. And the sustainability of tourism is dependent on the sustainability of this wildlife. And that is why we would like to rally all other countries and Kenyans to come together to conserve this national heritage that we have.
The question that we're asking right now is, it's simple, it's stark. Can we be the generation to save our giants? What do you think?
I certainly believe we can be the generation. The conversation has already started. The efforts are already ongoing. It is just to be able to bring on board more people. The citizenry participation at the very grassroots level is where there needs to be a lot of work. The youth have not been so much involved in conservation efforts. How do we bring them on board? But otherwise, we have seen a lot of work being done by conservation agencies led by KWS. We have seen the private sector come on board and the government rallying other countries to be able to push changes in policies and legislature on conservation. So it is possible. Our generation is the one that really has to lead the way.
For many who might be sitting down thinking, what does it matter to me? Why should I care? What would you say?
We all have to care because wildlife conservation is important to all of us because it touches on three elements. One being the economic value that wildlife has on Kenya. From the national level, where tourism is already contributing a total of 12% per annum to the total GDP of Kenya. And then it is also our economic livelihood. About 500,000 Kenyans are employed within the tourism industry. Yeah? So that alone, from an economic perspective, is enough reason for us to care. Yeah? Because if we lose our wildlife, we lose our economic mainstay, and then we have no jobs. Yeah? So it makes it pretty obvious for every other person to see the need to participate in conservation. The second angle is the environmental angle, that wildlife are part of the ecological system. And if we have certain species being eradicated at a very fast pace, then it disturbs the natural balance. And that is how we begin to see the impact, spill over to other areas of the environment. And we wonder, why is this happening? What is this that is global warming? It is all connected, at the end of the day. And then the last angle is the social angle, Our communities, you have seen how wildlife have changed the lives of the people in Narok County, Laikipia, and so on and so forth. Communities are benefiting from this every single day. And beyond all this, when they're put together, this is our national heritage. We would not want to lose this. We would like our future generations to be able to see the work that we have done today and see the value that they also need to sustain those same animals that they will have found then into the future.
Mary, let me pose the question for the many communities who are struggling with the very real human-wildlife conflict and are saying, but hold on a minute, actually these animals are costing me a lot. I have lost a lot. Some people have even lost loved ones. How can we mitigate this conflict?
It is a huge, huge challenge, Julie, but it is a challenge that is not insurmountable. We can be able to overcome it. And this requires collaborative efforts. Government on one hand, working through KWS, the migratory corridors. How do we reclaim those migratory corridors and ensure that our wildlife are able to move freely? It is because of the expansion in population over time and then encroachment into these migratory corridors that has led to this conflict day in, day out. But beyond that, the trickle-down effect of the benefits of conservation through tourism to the communities, if they're not feeling it at that grassroots level, then they see no need to be able to conserve. So we really have to look at it from a holistic perspective, and we join hands together. But at that grassroots level, any Kenyan should be able to ask themselves, is it worthwhile to be able to kill animals? It is not worthy at all, It is only worthwhile if we're able to conserve them for the future, So really that is the message we would like to tell Kenya.
Part of the Brand Kenya effort is the Mimi ni Kenya campaign. What does Mimi ni Kenya mean, and how does that relate now to conservation? What role can people play?
Kenya ni Mimi, or Mimi ni Kenya, at the end of the day, is a campaign that we're running at Brand Kenya, and we're telling Kenyans that you have to be the Kenya that you want to see. That is the bottom line. Kenyans look at this particular country. Some see it from a very, very positive perspective, and others see it from a very negative perspective. And we would like to tell all of them that, irrespective of the positives and the negatives, it is who we are. So we can only be able to change Kenya by taking individual action. So when we see poaching is taking place, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing as individuals to conserve wildlife or the overall conservation efforts? Littering is one of the things that we see left, right, and center in the country. We would like to tell Kenyans that when we admire other countries and we say, Rwanda is very clean, or Singapore is very clean, or whatever other place, Switzerland is very clean, it is because the citizenry took the action in their hands and they said, I will not litter. I will not let my tap run if I'm not using it. I will recycle paper. It is those simple steps that these countries undertook, and it is the same steps we would like to urge Kenyans to undertake so that we can be able to conserve through this Kenya ni Mimi campaign.
Finally, before we come to the Q&A a little bit later, we're asking everyone to make a commitment. To make a commitment on conservation, whether it's on wildlife protection, whether it's on preservation, whether it's on forestry, cleaning up, whatever it might be. Mary, what's your personal commitment?
My personal commitment is, from the time I wake up in the morning, the amount of water I use, for showering, I get to the office, how much printing am I doing, If I am eating something in my car, can I just keep it in my car until the time I get to a place where I can be able to litter? If I buy a snack on the streets and I'm walking around, can I wait for the next litter box so that I can be able to put that in there, whatever waste I have? It is every single day. When I get back home in the evening, how do I make sure that I only have my lights on where I'm seated? I don't have to leave all the lights in every room on, and nobody's using it. We are wasting, The amount of water I use in washing my dishes, running water while you wash a plate through and through is wastage. So it is those little things, just from morning to evening, making it part of my day-to-day life. That is my pledge.
Simple things that you can do at home too. Just the first step, that's what matters. And then it becomes habit, and then we start to see the change.
The Giants Club was founded by the Elephant Protection Charity, an international conservation charity with more than a decade of experience in the conservation and management of African elephants and the landscapes they depend on. Founder members of the Giants Club are President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, President Ali Bongo Ondimba of Gabon, and President Seretse Khama Ian Khama of Botswana. The club was established with support from its implementing charity, Space for Giants, and its patron, Yevgeny Lebedev, Russian businessman, publisher, and philanthropist. The inaugural Giants Club Summit takes place on the 29th of April 2016 in Nanyuki, convened by President Uhuru Kenyatta and supported by Space for Giants. The aim of the summit is to address the elephant poaching crisis in Africa and work towards a lasting solution for the conservation of the continent's wildlife. Following the summit, on the afternoon of the 30th April in Nairobi, the Kenya Wildlife Service will destroy the largest stockpile of ivory in Africa's history, demonstrating its zero tolerance to illegal ivory trade.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're really happy to have with us a man whom they call the Elephant Man. Jim, let me allow you to introduce yourself to the people. Why do they call you the Elephant Man?
Thank you. I remember the person who called me Elephant Man was the Minister for Natural Resources, Mr. Maharanganga. That's the name we used to call him. And that was 2013. That was during my first walk that I was doing the walk from Mombasa to Nairobi, raising awareness on elephants. It took me 14 days to do that. And before I reached Nairobi, that was in Voi, he personally called me. And that's when the name started. I have carried the name all the way, and until now that I'm now planning another walk. I've done 5,000 kilometers now, both in Kenya and United States.
That's incredible. We're seated at the National Museums of Kenya in Nairobi, and behind us we have a sculpture of the iconic elephant called Ahmed that received the protection of the government under President Jomo Kenyatta. Ahmed was lucky. So many other elephants have lost their lives. What's your message to this country as to why it's important to protect our natural heritage, our wildlife?
It goes to the big question, why do we need elephants? And this is a question that comes in, and most people have no idea, why do we first need to protect that elephants? Elephants have three values. One of them is what we call the economic value. Elephants are called a keystone species. They drive the economy of this country. And if we were to lose all the elephants, we're talking of losing 12% GDP. And
12% of the GDP
Tanzania is enjoying 17%, and Uganda is enjoying 10%. So if we were to lose all the elephants, in the country now we have 24,000 elephants. If you were to lose all these elephants, we mean that tourism, in as much as we can, people cannot come to see. In fact, I remember 2 years ago, Kenya, we were ranked, I think, the ugliest people in Africa. Nobody would come all the way to come and see us here.
The angriest.
The ugliest people, you know.
The ugliest or the angriest?
The people with big nose like mine.
Oh no, the ugliest.
Yeah. I remember the Sudanese were ranked the first. Nobody would come all the way to come and see. They come to see those, the monkeys, the baboons, name them. That means tourism. The second thing is the aesthetic value. Elephants are beautiful, in the sense that there is a lot of attachment to the humanity from how they think. Elephants have good memories, and we can learn so many things from elephants. The other thing is that we call elephant as the ecological value, to us scientists, because elephants defecate 17 times per day. They go.
That's a lot of fertilizer.
Yes. Yes. And per defecation, they defecate 13 bolles or 13 balls. And out of 13 balls, about 20% is undigested. That means they're very good in seed dispersal. And that's one. Elephant feed in about 300 kilogram dry mass and 200 liters of water per day. We also call them the architect species, modifying the habitats. Like Amboseli, which used to be a thick forest, it's now a savanna that is open for other species, the agrid species, the antelopes. And now that's why the Amboseli is now a premier park. So if you were to lose the elephant, and there is also cultural attachment, like the people who live in the elephant, they say, whenever we see elephant, like whenever it rains, elephant comes out of the park. Whenever they are going back to the parks, community know the rain has come to an end. So elephant and people, they're supposed to live together.
First, let me say that Kenyans are beautiful people. And actually, a lot of people globally say we're some of the warmest people they've ever met. So let me just say that before we continue. Jim, there's the very real issue of the human-wildlife conflict, and I keep asking about this. I want to refer to a picture that was shared recently of a community that threw an elephant into a ditch and then cut it up, ate it, set it on fire. Horrifying, horrifying. How do we address the fact that some of our communities feel like these animals are the enemy? How do we then integrate these communities into being part and parcel of the protectors of the wildlife? What must we do?
Okay, from where I see it, we're talking of about 70% of the wildlife, and I mean elephants, they're outside the park. And looking at where Kenya Wildlife Service, that the only institution that is mandated by the government to look at the issues of wildlife, is only 30%. And we're also looking at the why do elephants and animals out of the park? Are they going to be back one day to the park? The answer is no. Because we have grown to, we are increasing every day, and we are displacing the space for the wildlife.
There's a fight for the resource, the land resource.
Exactly. You saw just another day an elephant, Morgan, walking all the way to Somali. They're trying to reoccupy their former areas that they used to be. Now, in this country here, there is a perpetual attitude. The attitude from when we were young, what I call the Sunday school teaching, that the wildlife belongs to the government, the wildlife belongs to KWS. We've not been able to own the wildlife per se. I did a socioeconomic survey around Mount Kenya, asking community, how do you think if elephants were to be taken away from this place? And most of them, 70% was, when are you moving them? How do we change that attitude from the point whereby I can conserve something? Today, if I want to get milk from a cow, I must feed that cow. I must give that cow particular medicine. Now, the space that we have in this country, every day people are giving, the lack of proper planning, that's one. We are giving birth every day, the expansion of human population that is eating up the space for wildlife. The other thing is we've lacked political goodwill. The case that you are addressing is in Nyahururu, in part of the Rumuruti area. If you look at this particular case here, we are looking at the area have been subdivided. All the elephants in Laikipia, and remember, Laikipia Samburu is the second largest population with 6,000 elephants. From a population of 15,000 10 years ago, have been pushed toward the Laikipia area, that is toward Rumuruti. Now, the communities are going in to do farming. The Kenya Forest Service have started now introducing farming in the forest. What does that mean? Even communities are now staying more in the forest and they are chasing elephant away out of the forest. It really requires, even though we have a good law here at the moment, without awareness, without sensitization, without sitting down and agree, do we need elephants or not? We must get first the politician first, because our communities listen more to the politicians than even to the pastors. So if we are able to get our politicians down and convince them we need elephants, then we are able to cope, because mitigating human-wildlife conflict is very easy. Remember, Judy, these animals have been living with these communities forever. All of a sudden, yes, we agree there is a generation change. The young people who are there have not been sensitized, but the old people, our fathers, our grandfathers, were sensitized. But our young generation have no attachment to the wildlife.
So it's about involving the different stakeholders. The politicians are key, creating awareness, education, and from there we can achieve it.
That's the thing.
For many Kenyans sitting back wondering, how can I play a role wherever I am? As the elephant man, someone who walks for these animals. You've walked for these animals not just here in Kenya. You're walking around East Africa shortly, you'll tell us about that. But you've even walked for elephants in America.
Yeah.
So first of all, tell us about your upcoming walk.
Good question. I will be walking from Nairobi to Arusha, then from Arusha, Moshi, then Moshi to Tanga, that is toward east, that connect Kenya and Tsavo, then all the way to Dar es Salaam because of the Mikumi National Park, then climb all the way to Ruaha, the biggest national park, Seru, Dodoma, where is the members of parliament seats, all the way to Singida, Tabora, Mwanza to Bukoba, which is bordering Uganda and Kenya, and Uganda and Tanzania. Then from there, I will walk all the way to Kasese, Queen Elizabeth, bordering the Uganda and the Rwanda. Then from there, Barara, Kampala, where I also have several sittings there with different people. Walk all the way to Mabira and Busia, down to Kakamega because of elephant in the caves. Then from there, walk all the way to Baringo. We have Muchogoi, where we have elephants, and then come Narok, down to Kabiamoto, Nakuru, then back to Nairobi. It's gonna take me 120 days.
You're going to be walking for elephants for 120 days. For those who cannot join you but want to support you, what can they do?
One, I'm not raising funds. I'm raising awareness.
Wow.
And I've tried raising funds. You know, we sell T-shirts. Somebody would say, how do I buy a T-shirt, yet my farms was eaten by the same elephant you are talking about? First, I want to change this community's attitude. First thing that I want is to change someone. Then you can change the other person. I know whatever come may, I'll walk. I am looking for one, I need the vibration. I need to have this amplified to other communities. The Tanzanians, they are organizing themselves. Kenyans here, I'm looking forward to have, I remember during 1979, the young Kenyans, through the wildlife clubs of Kenya, they marched in Nairobi and they took 10 million signatures to the president, and that's why they stopped the bushmeat trade. We can also create this. And one of the things that we're using, we have our T-shirt everywhere. And I believe in the social media. I believe in the bringing people, because the young people, we have a young man called Luca. Those are the people who make me walk every day. Because from a young man, from the time I was in class 8, that's how I became whom I am. I want to change so many people that they can, I will not continue walking forever. But I want to leave other people walking. And you don't have to walk physically, but you can walk from where you sit.
Walk from where you sit by creating awareness. He's walking to create awareness. Just knowledge and understanding could change the situation. That is really inspiring, Jim. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think we are in a very good space. I think we have the commitment from His Excellency to support the conservation effort and in fact to reinforce Kenya's position as a global leader in anti-poaching. As you know, on the 30th of this month, next Saturday, we're going to be having the largest ivory burn ever. 105 tons of ivory, and in addition, 1.35 tons of rhino horn. His Excellency, the President, announced that the country would burn its entire stock of ivory when he burned 15 tons on the World Wildlife Day last year. And this is a demonstration that Kenya does not believe that there is any value to ivory or rhino horn except on the elephant or on the rhino. We're hoping that this will not only demonstrate Kenya's commitment, but be a catalyst which will result in a global ban in the trade of ivory and rhino horn, locally and internationally. We had a poaching epidemic in the early 2012, 2011, and partially 2013, and the government said enough is enough. So the government facilitated KWS to get more rangers trained, to equip them with modern armaments and other equipment that was needed, and very importantly, to reinforce and strengthen our intelligence capability. I think the intelligence capability has been the single most important tool that we've used in the fight against corruption. Last year was the worst year ever in Africa for poaching. However, in Kenya, over the past 2 years, 2015, the poaching has actually come down, and the signs are this year that we've been able to contain the situation. I think what we've been able to achieve ourselves is with our canine units, hardly a week goes by before we're able to catch people trying to use, especially JKIA, as a transit point. With our intelligence system, we are hopefully going to be able to capture people who have been able to get to Mombasa with their containers and catch them before they load them on board the ships. So we would appeal to people not to let it happen, but even as they try, we will, through our intelligence and our canine unit, try and capture more. We've been partially successful, but not as successful as we'd like to be. So our operations with the police, with the customs have been successful, and we'd like to see more of that happen. This is our national heritage. We've been blessed with an incredible country. We've been blessed with an assortment of wildlife that very few countries in the world have. The first thing I would do is say, Kenyans, please go and visit our parks. Go and see what wonders we have, because once you see it, then you will understand the role that we have, not only to protect it for ourselves and for posterity, but for global posterity, because a lot of our species are not found everywhere in the world.
Who would like to start us off with a question or a comment? Thank you so much.
Concerning conservation and communities, is it that the communities lack awareness of the animals, or is it that they have no understanding of the social economic value of the animals? Because there's an example of a small community in Mombasa. They were that poor, but there's a scientist who went there and showed them literally how to farm, and now they have a contract with one of the big companies in Kenya to produce fruit for juice. The same question, so I think does the same thing apply for communities surrounded by elephants? Is it that they don't know their social economic value, or they have no understanding of it?
Okay. Just before we answer your questions, what's your commitment?
So my commitment is I can work with guys who with farmers to create awareness about elephants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that your question actually is part of your commitment as well. So two very important questions there. And let's start with the first one. The different numbers that are being shared. Where are the statistics coming from, and what are the actual numbers? Maybe I'll start with you, Mary, and then come to you, Jim.
When we say tourism contributes 12% per annum to Kenya's total GDP, what we're referring to is you will find that when a tourist comes in, there's a direct contribution by way of the things they would consume immediately and the labor force that is engaged towards servicing that particular client. That is direct contribution. Currently, according to WTTC, that is the World Travel and Tourism Council, Kenya's tourism contributes 4.8% direct. But total contribution to GDP, which is now that 12%, includes the spillover effects of tourism to other sectors. For example, the travel component, aviation, and then you include the mama mboga in Kenya, who every single day she knows by 5 in the morning, I have to have delivered my sukuma wiki to the hotel, because that sukuma wiki will be ordered by this particular client. So when you now capture the total contribution, that's when now we're able to say it is 12% per annum.
Thank you for that. I think it clarified it. Jim, so let's come to the question that's been posed on the awareness and the education that especially the poorer communities might need, and how they can leverage their relationship with how do we incentivize them to protect the wildlife?
Thank you. One, the good question, and I look at this. My first walk I did Mombasa, Nairobi. When I paid a courtesy call, this is a government officer, a DC in Voi. I paid a courtesy call to his office with blisters and KWS. And the one thing he came first, he was to despise me. Young man, what do you have for us? You're working for elephants? You're wasting your time? We have 1 million elephants here in the Tsavo, and we even wonder what to do. So I was like, 1 million? Even Africa, we don't have 1 million elephants. So I had to ask him, sir, with all due respect, we only have 11,000 elephants in the Tsavo. When I mean lack of information, you can see the government officers. I did a meeting with the members of parliament from Central, and I was talking about how hyenas are becoming endangered in Abadeas. One of them asked me, by the way, why do we need hyenas? So we're looking from the basic thing, and this has come in my walks where I walk and where I talk to people. What has come out clearly, we are talking of the change in generation. Amboseli is one area that have enjoyed the tourism. I remember I worked in KWS. We give them a lot of money from the BCP, from the Tourism Trust Fund, but today they still kill elephants. There is a generation change. Our generation, anybody who is 40 years below, seem not to have been informed well. But the old people were able to even to do, and this has changed over even in KWS. KWS were able to do meetings with the communities, and NGOs were doing this with the communities to educate them and to change their attitude, and even them, involve them in a need assessment. Today, if you want to do a fence, what happened today? They don't involve the communities. The community wake up in the morning and see the fence. In Magadi, where community had embraced conservancy, they never lost any animal. So KWS went to ask community in Magadi, can we have some of the animals? And the Maasai says, no, these are our animals. Simply because they give them space, and they saw a place. That's where I first met Bill Gates in Shompole, and they were able to see the benefit. Should we inform them well? I am sure we call them in Swahili, wachugaji ndio wafugaji wema.
So I'm going to ask the question, why do we need hyenas? Just for anybody who might be sitting at home asking, really, why do, so please tell us, educate us, why do we need an animal even like a hyena?
Thank you. We are going back to basic. And I will still ask you again, why do we need butterflies? Why we need hyenas? Hyenas, I would say this in a layman terms, we call them, they clean ecosystem. You saw what happened in Mara when the lions were poisoned. They were eaten by those hyenas, and the hyenas never died. So they are able to clean the system. They are actually part of what we call the balancing of ecosystem. What will happen when we lose all the hyenas? Our parks will be stinking hell. Because remember, animals are dying every day. Remember, when a lion kills a zebra, doesn't finish everything. Whenever there is an outbreak in the park, let's say there is an outbreak, whether it's caused by human interaction or just genetically, hyenas are the doctors. They take away those things.
That is fascinating. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let's come to one of our wildlife warriors. Please do stand up, and I would love you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do, the challenge of the work that you do, and what your hope and vision is for wildlife protection and conservation in Kenya, please.
My name is Rabia Hawa, and I'm the founder and executive director of Ulinzi Africa Foundation. And we run an initiative called Walk with Rangers. So I'm just like Jim. Jim walks for elephants, and I walk for a different cause. I walk for the unsung heroes of conservation, the rangers. The reason that I do that is because I've worked with rangers for several years. For about 8 or 9 years, I've been participating and conducting anti-poaching efforts in the Tsavo Conservation Area. I've done a bit in the Mara, done a bit in Machakos, and also the Tana Delta area, which is a very remote region in our country that is often ignored. And just like the remote regions are ignored, I feel that rangers are often ignored in conservation discussions as well. And it's beyond any shadow of a doubt that we need rangers to protect wildlife. There's nobody that's going to stand in between an elephant and a poacher's bullet except a ranger. And if these rangers aren't empowered and they're not facilitated, they're not encouraged to do what they do, we really have no hope for wildlife, in my view. And so while we're on the topic of commitments, my commitment has always been to support rangers and to raise awareness for the challenges that they face so that they can get further support from other angles. We did a walk in 2014 from Arusha to Nairobi, so backwards track from what Jim is planning to do. And we walked through the bush, and we had 70 participants from all over the world. Initially, I was going to do it myself, and then I brought in 2 rangers, and a lot of people were interested to find out more, so we put it on Facebook, and we invited people to join. And these people came from all over. We had a guy from Algeria, we had a lady from France, we had people from Germany, from England, and of course from Kenya and Tanzania, which was critical to our cause. And just them walking through the terrain that we walk every day gave them a completely new and fresh perspective on why rangers are so important, and why, when we're asking as conservation organizations, we need 800 shillings to buy a pair of boots, they now understand why it's so important. They had blisters within hours of walking. We've got to clock between 20 and 35 kilometers a day in the bush, doing patrols, checking tracks in the bush of poachers, following these poachers' tracks. We sleep in the bush with hyenas. I've had a colleague of mine who had his hat snatched by a hyena one night. So we have a lot of encounters with wildlife, but at the same time, we really value wildlife, and we really do this work because we understand that they are so critical for the prosperity of this nation. It's about working together, really. We need rangers, we need elephants, we need everybody to join the cause.
That's so inspirational. So of course, I'm not asking you what commitment you make because you live your commitment every day. But what message do you have for the many Kenyans who are watching thinking, what can I do? What would you want them to do? What can they do?
I think just use whatever skill that you have and apply it. If you're a photographer, volunteer your photography skills. If you can walk like Jim, do a walk. Just do something, anything to raise awareness, even on social media. If you have the ability and the power to raise funds for the people, the men and the women that are on the ground, because they are living this every single day. And everybody in conservation really needs your support, but more than needing your support, we need you to get involved. So contact us, contact anyone, contact Jim Nyamu, you can contact myself through the Walk with Rangers page, and we will guide you on how you can best apply your skills and your abilities towards this greater conservation effort, which will all be for the prosperity of our wonderful country, Kenya.
Wow. Please, let's give her a round of applause. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel so inspired.
Hi, my name is Sean Southey. I'm the CEO of a not-for-profit called PCI Media Impact that does conservation work around the world. But I've been watching Kenya for many, many years. And I'm here now this week just to show support and to show the respect. I think what Kenya is doing and what Kenya has done in advancing a vision of Kenya that lives with animals, that deals with human-wildlife conflict, that recognizes the importance of livelihoods, but then still recognizes the power and the wonder and the majesty of these special creatures. People are noticing. People are noticing Kenya. People are noticing the story that is happening here. So my one request to Kenyans is to recognize you're doing something beautiful. That the work that is happening here is important. And it's not just on behalf of Kenya, it's on behalf of the whole world. Because as my dear colleague and friend Rabia said, you cannot do this alone. It takes many, many different types of partners at many different types of levels to really make conservation stick. My commitment is to help share Kenya's story. And so that this power of this week, the power of the walkers, the rangers, the branding, the communicators, the government, the NGOs, and everyday people is recognized and becomes a global lesson. So thank you for letting me part of this week.
Thank you so much. That's excellent, and I think very inspirational for people who are watching.
My name is Al Evanson Kariuki. As I said, I work for the Bushmeat Free Eastern Africa Network. Basically what we are trying to do is trying to encourage people to stop consumption of bushmeat. Because the fact that you want to go out and capture an animal and then come and sell it out as bushmeat, it's affecting all species across the range, from elephants to the dik-dik. For example, a trap that is set to catch an impala would easily catch and kill a lion, and we know the numbers of the lions are not doing well. The same snare will catch and injure an elephant that will let alone die. So we are trying to encourage people to get involved about what they consume, and also to be good citizens out there. As Jim would call them, citizen ledgers. If you see someone who is going to trap animals, give that report. If you see a trapped or a snared animal while you are visiting a game park, give a report to the game ledger. That report that you give initially could end up saving thousands of animals, because someone going to place snares will go and place about 50 of them. If that snares catch animals and the person just took away 2 of them, the others will go into waste. And then we are also getting a lot of animals getting caught as bycatch, the hyenas that we know are important.
My name is Komli. I am a student at Strathmore Law School, and mine is more of a question, less of a comment. Recently, we saw the lion escaping the national park and a ranger shooting it and killing it. So my question is, are the rangers sensitized enough to be able to handle situations where they don't end up harming the animals, instead helping them? Because there was a very odd part where a ranger who is meant to protect the animals shooting them.
So, Jim, what perhaps is most disturbing about that is you would think humans would understand if an animal is out and it's a dangerous animal, don't make noise, don't scream at it, don't honk horns, and yet everybody's being a nuisance, making a nuisance of themselves. What can we learn from this incident? First of all, as the public, if you do see a lion or a wild animal on the street, what do you do? And second of all, from KWS, what was the lesson learned?
I'm sure this year has been a very different year all of a sudden. You've seen rains everywhere, every day. Have you seen dogs, for those people maybe who comes from the village, you've seen dogs along the way, even some have been hit by vehicles? We are in the season of the mating season for dogs and for cats, and the lions are in the same category. And what has happened is, Nairobi Park has too many males, and so the young males are pushing the old male. Mohawk was one of the oldest male there. So when they are moving out, it again goes to the area of what we mentioned about the encroachment. So they go looking for areas to dominate, and you know, in the ecology of lions, there is dominance. They dominate, there is a territorial dominance. So when they go out, they find this place has been inhabited by people. So what happened to the reason why that lion was killed? It was not the wish of the ranger. I am a ranger, I'm not defending him. It was not his wish to do that. What has happened, that lion had a habit of moving out. In fact, he moves so many times in JKA, there is a cruise path where they normally go. But this particular case, he woke up in the morning and he found himself in Isinya. The policeman came and called the KWS, and then the Kenyans, when you hear of a vehicle has a bomb, do we run away or do we go closer to the vehicle? We all go to the vehicle to see the bomb, and the bomb is actually inside. You see somebody is injured and the ambulance is coming, we are blocking the way. So as usual behavior, people went to see lions with our motorbike. So what the police did and the KWS in Kajiado did, they went and they cordoned the whole place and they put a wire. So the lion was actually outside, and you know, when the lion is panicking, they open the mouth. You know, they breathe with their mouth. So that lion was actually agitated. He had not drunk water. He was like you find yourself in a place that you are not sure. So there is already trauma. So these rangers, they had to reach a point and use common sense in the sense of, do we lose people here or do we use the lion?
So he looked like he was about to attack the crowd.
Exactly. So, and to me, if those people who are coming to dart the lion, if they would have reached there, remember, darting the lion doesn't mean it falls there in the next 1 minute. I used to dart an elephant, take 15, 20 minutes. That lion, when you dart, you provoke the lion. In fact, it would have caused a very bad thing, because before it would have slept, it would have maybe caused chaos there.
So Jim, let me ask, what lesson do we learn to Kenyans watching now? And you can look direct at that camera and speak to them. When you see a wild animal, what do you do?
One, the lesson here for us, there was a communication breakdown, and I'm sure even KWS are now organized. For us Kenyans, when you see lions, first of all, you must ensure that you are safe. Remember, not all animals are able to see properly, but they use smell. And that's why you see poachers are able to kill elephants, because they don't shower. They can take a month before they shower. When you see, let's say you see a buffalo, they don't see properly. First of all, you must ensure you are safe. Secondly, the direction of the wind. And I've always been telling people the best way to know the direction of the wind is by raising a finger like this. You can even wet it, and you can be able to know the direction of the wind, and you'll be able to save, because they are able to smell our fresh, they are able to smell our food, our mafuta, all these things, perfume that we use. Don't hoot. These animals have not had this hooting for all long. Don't hoot, don't shout. Some even go to an extent of urinating to yourself. You urinate yourself, the elephant get that smell, there you are, you'll be knocked because of panicking. First thing, don't panic. Be calm, then look for the best way of walking. By the time you know the direction of the wind, you can know this animal is headed this direction, so you can escape using this other direction.
So be calm, try and move away from the direction
I've lived with these animals for 19 years now, collecting urine of an elephant. How do you collect a urine of an elephant? How do you watch elephant defecating? You can be able to habituate with them, because they are highly adaptable. And whenever they note that you are not a harmful person, they will live with you.
That's an important lesson for Kenyans, and we want to live alongside the animals. We're closing this discussion now, and I really thank you all and appreciate your time and your contributions to this discussion. Jim, Mary, a final word to Kenyans. What would you say? Mary, I'll begin with you.
What we can be able to tell Kenyans as Brand Kenya is that our wildlife is our national heritage. We'd also like to tell Kenyans that we must protect this national heritage and therefore stop this trade. And then lastly, we would like to tell Kenyans that start today. Start today to conserve Kenya, because the whole world knows that when you think conservation, you make it Kenya.
Wow, that's powerful. When you think conservation, you make it Kenya. We're taking ownership of the conservation agenda. Kenya is you and me. Yes, thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you. One, I want to still remind Kenyans, I'm walking. I have 3,200 kilometers. And I'm doing this voluntarily. I need your support, whether from where you sit, by educating one another. Check us on our website, elephantcenter.org. Check us on our Facebook, Elephant Neighbor Center. We need to hear, I don't need to walk alone in Kenya, in Tanzania, Uganda. I need to walk with you. You can walk with me. You can walk from where you are. Lastly, the wildlife and the nature and all that we have, the beautiful sceneries in this country belongs to us. We are not waiting for anybody else to come. It is our responsibility to conserve. If we don't conserve this wildlife, and I remember from when I was very young, conserving for better tomorrow. There is no other tomorrow that I'm waiting. I am living my tomorrow. And if the remaining 25,000 elephants that we have, with the fact that we are losing about 3 elephants per day, in the nearly 15 years to come, there will be no elephants. And I'm seeing elephants plus other species. It is our responsibility, not a responsibility of Kenya Wildlife Service or the government of Kenya. It is our responsibility as Kenya, from where we sit, to ensure we conserve our wildlife.
Earlier, we took a look at the replica of Ahmed. Well, this is his actual skeleton, and these are his tusks. Ahmed was blessed to have lived a protected life. But can we give the same to the other giants of Kenya and of Africa? Can we protect our elephants, our rhinos, and the rest of our wildlife? I'm Julie Gishuru, and I can give a voice to this issue. I commit to doing that, getting people talking and engaging about wildlife protection and conservation. What can you do? Share your views. #WorthMoreAlive, #MimiNiKenya. Share across social media platforms and get people talking about what they can do and making their commitments as well. We can light a fire.